morning, everybody. Ciaccio here. Hope everybody's having a fantastic day. Thursday morning, just got back from the Roll Neighbors trip in Wyoming. Everybody had a great time. The nice thing about it is that they treat you like royalty when you go down there. So if you guys want to do a nice trip, you want to be a contender, you want to hang out with the head people at Roll Neighbors, I think it's something you ought to kind of focus on. Next year, they're going to be going to Hawaii. So just kind of think about if you want to go on a trip that is basically almost for free. You maybe have to pay for like a T-shirt if you bring it back. So it's something for you to kind of think about, put it in your thoughts. If you don't have Roll Neighbors, get with Jay in the office. We'll let you know all the parameters and everything you need to know to sign up with them and get them in your portfolio. Okay, today I want to talk about whole life, term, and universal life. Agents call up and they're kind of unsure what they want to do. Joe, the client wants a term. Joe, the client wants a UL. What do I do? What is best for the client? First of all, the most important thing is that I believe you need to speak with your client and find out if they've ever had insurance before. Because what happens is that you are on auto focus to sell just final expense. And when you're on auto focus to sell just final expense, you're going to say, what about a $5,000, $15,000, $20,000? You tell them the premium, and if you don't know they had a UL or even a term before, what ends up happening is your premiums come back too high, and you don't make a sale, not because you didn't do a good job, not because you didn't make a proper presentation or it was a bad lead. You didn't do your homework to find out what they had before and what they're looking for. Because what happens is that the people that send in these leads we've talked about before, they're called responders. What they do, they fill the card out, they fill it in, and they want information about life insurance or a burial program. In their mind, it's just some type of program to protect themselves. The agent before you may sold a term policy because that's what that agent might have felt was the best. Or the agent before sold them a universal life that's going to explode on them, or they just canceled it because the mere fact is that they couldn't afford it. So I feel that you need to, mindset's got to be a whole life program, yet you got to find out what they had before, what they need, what they really want. Now what ends up happening is that people sit and tell you they want a term, and an agent will sit and say, Joe, why do you want to sell them a term when they're 65 years old and it'll only last for 10 years or 15 years? What if they outlive it? Well, there's pros and cons to selling them what they want and selling them what you feel they need. Okay? The name of the game is for you to make them happy, you to work the lead, and for you to walk out with an application. So don't try and sit and try to convince them they ought to buy what you feel is best. You got to find out what they want. Now, what I sell excuse me, a 70-year-old with no meds, nothing, a 10-year term, that's what he wants. That's what I'm going to get him. I am not going to sit and try to convince him to buy a whole life because when he's 80, he's had to pay a higher premium. Now, I will discuss that with him. I will tell him, what about, let me kind of show you another option. My job here is to give you different options for you to pick. But ultimately, it is your decision what makes you happy. You can't convince them because when you convince somebody to try to buy something they don't want to buy, what's going to happen? That's like you kind of go and buying a car, and you want a black-on-black car, but they got a white car with black interior that they get you like $2,000 less expensive, and the actual salesman is going to make a $500 bonus. When he tries to push that white car on you, push, you're going to say, damn, I don't want a white car. Why is he doing it? Not knowing he's going to get a $500 bonus. What do? I'm not going to buy from this guy. I don't like this guy. We've got nothing in common. I wanted black on black. He's trying to sell me white on black. So you've got to do the same thing when you're in the house with a client. So let them feel you were there to help them, assist them, guide them. And what your job is to do is to make sure the process goes smooth. Now, a lot of times you may sit and say, you know something, I've had clients who bought terms and they've lived longer than the term period, and they've gotten upset when the term came up and they had to buy a whole life because the term wasn't available. I've had people tell me, I don't care, I want a term, that's all I want. So I said, okay, if that's what you want, that's what I'm going to give you. Because here's the deal. you don't offer him or give him what he wants, well, Johnny Boy's going to come in behind you and make the sale because you felt a whole life was better. Okay? Now, what ends up happening is that when you're speaking with people and you tell them how sexy your programs are, be it Royal Neighbors on their free will, the $200 program they get if they lose something like in their freezer or something catastrophic happens, you want to sell them another carrier because that's the carrier you like. You've got to pick what you feel is best for the client, yet you got to pick what the client wants to buy. I've had a lot of agents lose sales because they become hard-headed and the client wants this and they want to give them that, okay? A lot of times agents say, I don't want to sell that because my commission's higher with this here. To me, part of a pie is better than no pie at all. I've been doing this for a long time, and to me, the most important part about it is to make the client happy to where you can get another sale, you can get a referral, and most importantly, walk out with a sale. Now, what do I say if the client insists on wanting a term and a term is not available? Okay? Now, every carrier we have has different age barriers for term. The one that I believe off the top of my head is the most lenient that we have is Transamerica. Okay? You can get a 64-year-old male and get him a 20-year term. Okay? Okay? You can get a 62-year-old male a 25-year term. You get longer periods with Transamerica. Some other carriers stop at age 60, some stop at age 70. Some carriers only go to a 20-year term. So you've got to know the difference between the term and the whole life. We already know a whole life is going to be the most expensive because it's guaranteed to cover you for your whole life. It's got bells and whistles, okay? It's got a cash value. Your premiums never go up. The face amount never goes down. So by wanting those safety nets, you have to pay a little bit more, okay? Now, when a client and you are visiting, I feel it's very important for you to find out what he's done before. Because what it's going to do is going to kind of give you some foundation on where you're going to take this client. Rode with an agent years ago and visited with a client. The agent was talking to him, never found out what he had before, never found out really much. He was just there on a mission to sell a whole life policy because it was a final expense plan. So what ended up happening, he offered him a $5,000 program for $35. The guy, I believe, was 62 or 63 years old. And he kept on telling the agent, no, 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 no. So the agent got upset and said, well, why don't we do one for $4,000? Okay? Now, what I did was that I came in and I said, you know something? The agent is going over this with you here. He's talking to you about a $5,000 and a $7,000 and a $10,000 program. And for whatever reason, you don't see, in my opinion, I don't think you see the value of what he's sharing with you. I said, have you had any life insurance before? He says, yes, I have. I said, what did you have? He said, I had a 10-year term product. And I said, okay, so may I ask you a couple questions? He says, certainly. I said, are you comparing that 10-year term price to the price that he's giving you now? He goes, yes, his price is way too high for what value I'm going to get for it. I said, okay. What did you have before? He said, I had a $25,000 policy for $10,000. It ran out, it lapsed, and I haven't done anything else about it. That's why I sent the card back in. I said, okay. I said, so right now, you want another 10-year term product. That's what I feel you're telling me. That's what I want. So if the agent would have extracted that information out of him, the agent wouldn't have gone down the wrong path. He would have gotten the client, what he wanted, and told him, listen, I can get you another 10-year, I can get you a 15, and I can get you a 20-year term, but the longer the term, the more it's going to cost, or you can get a whole life. So what I want to do is I kind of want to show you some different thought options. Now, should you discuss a 10, 15, 20, and a whole life all together? I don't know, man. There's days where I'm going to tell you yes, and there's days where I'm going to tell you no. But theoretically, if the guy's already bucked at the one whole life that one person talked about, To me, there's no need to go down that road again because you're kind of wasting your time. The guy's mind is made up on a 10-year term. So, pulled out my book. I said, I've got a carrier that's got a term 10. Very easy. It's very simple. All I got to do is ask you some additional questions. And if you answer the questions the proper way, I said, I'm going to make you happy, and we're going to leave here having another happy client. He said, okay. Ended up selling him a $25,000 term 10 product for, I believe, $5 to $6 a month more. There was no discussion. There was nothing, okay? That's what the client wanted. Now, if that's what he wants, that's what you got to give him. As I said before, old Johnny Boy's going to come in and make the sale behind your back, or when you leave, and you're going to sit and say it was a bad lead, I didn't do my presentation the right way. You're going to come up with some reason other than to sit and say, did I ask the right questions? Did I get all the answers before I went down that road? Because what happens to a lot of us, we just start talking. We just start rambling term, whole life. All we do is focus on just the sale instead of what the client needs and what he wants. Joe, when should I use a universal life? Well, universal life years ago, when I first got in the business, they'd actually blow up on you, meaning the guaranteed side didn't last long enough for the policy to stay in effect until the client turned 100 years old. Okay? Back in the old days, all the policies used to endow at 100, some at 95. Now, most of them go to 121. Okay? So you got to sit and think, what do I need to offer this person? Now, to me, if you have a healthy client and the client is doing good and he's already had insurance and he knows a little bit more than your average client we deal with, I might sit and say, what should I do? Should I come out with a carrier that's a whole life? Should I do a term? Should I do a universal life? So what you got to do, you got to ask the client, are you looking for something for short term, like 10, 15 years? Well, let's say the client's 65 years old. Are you looking for something that's going to last you, for a long, long time, until you pass away? I sometimes sit and ask, how old was your mom and dad when they passed away? How old were your grandparents when they passed away? So if you got a client that's 65 years old and their mother passed away when she was 91, the father passed away at 78 due to a car accident, yet he was in good health, 10-year term ain't going to be that good. 15-year term won't be that good. So the client says, well, Joe, I just want something small to take care of my funeral. Now, instead they want something kind of small. Most universal lives that I'm aware of start off at $25,000. Most of them start off at $50,000. Depends on the carrier you do business with. Usually, now they've got a built-in rider on some of them where they got no lapse guarantee all the way to age 100. Some of them already come built into the pricing. Some of them come where you have to add it as an additional rider to make it a guarantee to age 100 to where it's similar than a whole life guarantees. Okay, the people we deal with want guarantees. Premium's not going to go up, and my beneficiary is going to get X amount of dollars to take care of my funeral. Okay, now we've got to pick what's the proper vehicle for them. And what ends up happening, a lot of times we overthink it. So in my mind, ask questions. What have you had before? What are you looking for? Kind of what is in your budget? Can you afford $200 a month? Can you afford $150 a month? Price point selling. Or do you want to sell a face amount? Okay? Every agent has a different style. Every client we run across does a lot of different things. Now, if I'm in a house and the person wants a $25,000 plan, usually a whole life simplified issue is going to cost a little bit more. The reason it costs a little bit more is because they're more lenient on the underwriting. The underwriting is more simple. They only go back 2 years on heart attacks. Some carriers only go back 2 years on cancer. Now, when you want to get somebody who wants $25,000 and they show them that price there and you didn't do your due diligence to find out who they spoke to before, you may come in at $50 a month higher in premium because they looked at a no-lapse UL. That's something you got to sit and think about. Just because I'm giving them the cheapest thing I got, I've got all these different bells and whistles, this is something they should buy. What happens is that you got to get inside that client's mind to find out where they want to go. Most importantly, you got to find out where they've been. You need to find out the road they traveled before you got there, because you cannot go down that same road, because what you're going to do, you're going to hit a stop sign, and you're going to stop and stop and stop, and they're not going to let you cross. So by asking them these questions up front, it's going to make your journey with them a lot simpler. Hopefully they answer the questions. A lot of times they don't want to answer the question because they feel if they answer the questions, it may give away. They don't want to show their hand. They think they're playing poker. So this is why when you're speaking with them, you have to have what I call is a conversation. You can't sit and ask bullet points. Let me ask you question number 1. Let me ask you question number 2. I need some additional data from you. Try to have a conversation with them, kind of like in your warm-up session, to where they feel you're just speaking with them. Because when you go out and you bring out the application, and then you start asking those questions, now they say, uh-oh, he wants me to buy something. He's trying to sell something to me. So the red flag goes up, the concrete wall is starting to be built, and you don't see this here. So if you find all this information out up front, what it's going to do is going to make your transition, your presentation a little bit easier, because you have more of an idea of where you're going to go. Now, what whole life company to go with? What simplified issue company to go with? You can't always go with your favorite company because you got to go based on their health. You got to go on their age, their height and weight. Like we've got Royal Neighbors in Transamerica with no height weight categories. Okay? Now, if they have to go with an immediate standard at Transamerica because of their weight and the premium is too high, you've got to offer them what's available. I've had agents call me and say, Joe, the price for the Trans, whatever carrier he went with, was too high. He didn't want it. So I tried to put him with another carrier, and he got declined. Well, hello. You can't give them what they want all the time. You got to give them what they qualify for. And that's where a lot of agents get all worked up. Oh, Joe, I tried to give them that $25,000 universal life you've been speaking about, but whatever reason, they got declined. Well, you got to ask questions. Universal lives and term have got more health questions. They're going to look back more than 2 years or 3 years. That's why they're so inexpensive compared to a whole life. Now, when you end up going to somebody's house, you say, okay, I'm going to get that. I'm going to get them with this no-lapse UL I've got. The price is fantastic. Oh, my God, it's the best thing since sliced bread. $25,000 is only going to cost you $57 and change. So what happens now, you've actually got them excited. They're going to get $25,000 for $57 and change. Now you go on your iPad, you start doing all your stuff, and you get a decline. And you go, oh, my God. You need to ask yourself, did I ask all the health questions? That's where so many agents mess up. They ask the health questions, but if the client says he is on a blood thinner, now you need to do your due diligence to find out when he started it. Why is he on a blood thinner? Okay? He's on some type of high blood pressure medication. Did you have a heart attack? Did you have a stroke? Did you go to the hospital? Because what ends up happening, this, no, and they'll ask the medications, and then they go put them with these companies that have low premiums with more questions, and they get declined, and they get upset because they feel the lead is no good. I think that if you see a client that had a UL before, you need to find out if you have a no-lapse UL, to where that no-lapse UL will last them all the way to age 100. Because what's going to happen, if you go in with a UL that does not have a guarantee, I'm going to come in behind you, and I'm going to sit and tell the client, nice product, great company, but let me kind of show you where theirs is different than mine. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to blow yours up, because on the little schedule that they have on there, they show the guaranteed benefits. They show the projected benefits at a higher interest rate. So if the interest rates go down or they go up, which we can't predict, I look for the guaranteed side to make a sale. So I'm going to say this looks like it's going to go away at age 83. And what's going to happen, you got to start making more payments now to make it last longer. Yet if you go with mine for $10,000 less in face amount, it may cost you $5 more yet I guarantee you're going to have a cash value, and I guarantee that when you pass away, the money's going to be there. You've got nothing to worry about. I'm going to give them peace of mind that mine has guarantees and that UL doesn't. So if you do a UL, make sure you go with one that has a no-lapse UL, no-lapse guarantee, okay? The one that we have is Ciaccio. Ciaccio has got a no-lapse UL. You do it on your iPad, you're going to get an answer within 90 seconds to 2 minutes. It's sweet as pumpkin pie. Well, they go back 10 years. So if you have a client of yours that's on insulin, they can't go there. You have a client that had a heart attack 3-4 years ago, they can't go there. A stroke, a blood clot, pacemaker, they can't go there. Yet they can go with the regular simplified issues. So knowing what the client wants, and then you got to figure out what they qualify for. What happens is that we want to sell them what we want. You need to sell them nothing. You need to give them the information that you know that they want, give them the value, tell them why they should buy from you, give them the experience about you, then have them buy it from you. When somebody buys something from you, there's a greater possibility they're going to keep it than get rid of it. There's a bond you got to make. If you don't make that bond with a client, another agent's going to come in, talk bad about your product, and they're going to flip your product because the average agent does not tell the client a lot of stuff about themselves. They don't say a lot of stuff about the carrier. Years ago, it's 1995, you get $10,000 and you walk away. Today, there's more insurance agents out there. They're getting more savvy. They're getting smarter. And what they're doing is that they're educating the client a little bit more. This is not an in and out. This is an in, take your time, visit with the client, let them know you're sincere, let them know that you know about these different products. If you're a brand new agent, you don't know about Universal Life, say, you know something, this is what you want. Matter of fact, I just left somebody's house. I ended up doing 2 apps there, and I did 2 yesterday, and I've got some more coming in. Is it all right if I just gather some information and start asking questions 10 years ago, back 10 years, gather the information, either get with me or get with your manager, and then from there say, okay, we're going to load your gun up. We're going to take this back, this back, this back. You need to ask this question here. You got to learn somewhere. You can't just pull out a UL application and know it off the beginning. You can't pull out a whole life and know it right at the beginning. You've got to learn some of the underwriting and all that stuff there. Everybody starts off as amateur. Everybody starts off as a rookie. You don't start off making $25,000 a month in annualized sales when you first start. Some people do. Some people are just natural-born salespeople, and they're lucky. A lot of times the people they get, they just qualify for the stuff. But in the long run, if you don't learn, you're not going to be that successful. So let me end it with this here. In your opening statements, hello, how you doing? Recently sent this card in. What were you looking for? What have you had before? Have you spoken to an agent recently? Did you have a policy recently? They say, yes, I have. Yes, I have. Say, well, what transpired from that there? You had a policy. Do you still have it? Great. May I see it? No, I don't. Why don't you have it anymore? Find out why. Was it due to the premium? Was it due to whatever reason? Did it just lapse because it lapsed? The more information you can gather from that client in the beginning, in the hellos and how you're doing, you're going to be able to have that client talk to you more because their guard is down. That's like when I go into a house, I don't bring in a briefcase. All I do is bring in me and some leads, because without a briefcase, I can't sell nothing. So my job is to extract the information. I tell agents, I want you to be an attorney to where you ask questions. You want to be a private investigator to where you be nosy, and then you want to be a doggone nosy neighbor to where you kind of looking around, you kind of go in the back. Have you had any medications? No, I haven't. What medications are you on now? Well, I'm on this. And agent, stop. You need to find out what medications have you been on the last 3 years, whether you take them or you don't take them. A lot of clients we deal with quit taking medication because they can't afford it. So when you go to do an application on them, the MIB, then the RX comes back as a hit, because they took a medication. An agent called me yesterday, matter of fact, I said, Joe, my God, the client got declined. Yeah, and he's on the phone crying to me. I said, well, what happened? I didn't ask him about this here. He called the client up, and they had to give the client a nitro patch pill, okay? A nitro pill. I'm not the patch. A nitro pill, and the agent didn't think to ask about stuff that happened before, and the client just forgot to tell him about it. So you need to be nosy. You need to be persistent. You need to ask questions. Bring the bottles out. Let me look at it. Don't worry about it. The more information you give me, the better price I can give you. Okay, I'm going to stop it there. Does anybody have any questions? If you do, Jay will open you up. Do a *2. Jay will open you up, and I'll answer any questions you may have. Jay, what are we going to speak about tomorrow? Okay. Okay, matter of fact, I've yet to decide what we're going to do tomorrow. So, okay, Jay says we've got no questions. Appreciate it. You need Ciaccio, you need Royal Neighbors, you need any additional carriers. If you feel your portfolio is not set up with enough of term or whole life or universal life, please give us a call. I'll go over with you in detail, and I'll help you out. Okay, guys, make it a great day. Appreciate all your hard work. Thanks a lot.